But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marbles. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.
Hey everyone, it's Beth York with CVRcade, and we are racing Zone T, the 4-race Omnium here in CVR World Cup run up to the World Cup here, and we have Electronic Rush right now. The racers are warming up out on course. This first race is our low skill event, a one-time multiplier. We've got Roman Arena, we've got Sci-Fi R Loop, and we've got Summit Islands coming up, and we will finish this race with 3 laps on Summit Island. That was brutal in the earlier races, and we saw some people duking it out. Allison Kubota was strong in the race, and also in chat cheering on was Louise. Hey, Louise, Team Cognition Zone T coming out to play.
Yeah, we've got at least 3 members. I don't know if Homer is joining that I've seen, but yeah, we're doing the physical. I know some people will be doing some keyboarding tonight, so I think we'll race for Team Human, like Monty said last time.
Team Human. Well, awesome. We saw your teammate, both of your teammates, Sebastian. We saw Allison in there. Homer was also in there earlier. So Team Cognition out in force. You had a little bit of a lull. You guys had work and life, and now you're back at it. It's great to see you in the pen.
Yeah, it was exciting to see the bunch this morning. It was very exciting racing this morning. So yeah, just joining Zone T.
Well, I know you are sharpening your pencils and taking notes. Good luck to you. We also have Kayla, who's in here with Timothy. Kayla Laguna is actually going to be racing with Timothy just under a minute to go. Kayla, you're giving the Journey approach a try tonight.
Yeah. In here with Timothy, and gonna see how this goes, and have him racing as the keyboard, and then gonna have myself as physical. So it's gonna be very interesting. Putting the tactics in tonight. With keyboard and physical on the same team.
Well, good luck to you. Just over 30 seconds to go, Kayla. I will let you get focused in communication with Timothy. Electronic Rush, the low skill event. Here's Daniel, Team Cognition in with Luis. Luis said he had a couple riders in. He's got Luis in. He's got Modi. Haven't seen Modi on stream. Good luck to you, Modi. I look forward to that's the smiling face. Oh, so good to have that face back in the broadcast. Welcome back. 10 seconds to go. Good luck, Team Cognition. Good luck, Nigel, Team Velocity out representing. I know that I saw Jeff also in the pen. Kayla, Timothy, Homer, Daniel. I'm making sure if there are any new people, I don't yet see them in the list here just because of the way it's mapped out, but I want to make sure I call out everybody's name. On the front is Modi and Timothy and Luis, Aaron, Jeff, everybody here making their way to that front group. It does look like Glenn, who has in the chat as well, but also in the race. Glenn, welcome to the racing here. Ooh, Modi with an early Homer also with a comeback hit. It looks like Modi's got negated pretty quickly there. Maybe it was an accidental firing there, but this is a quick race. Corner caper ability, they won't slide out in the corner. Quantum shift ability, they phase through one another, and there is a comeback kid there down the way. You can see them lighting up the board here on board with Aaron here. Aaron back in the racing here in Zone T, finds himself at the front. He has done in the fall, he did really well on timing the sprints and these low skill events. And I don't want to take away anything, because there's actually a lot of skill, Aaron, with the timing that it takes to do these ones. And here is Daniel working, and you can see, again, when you're watching the side of the screen, you can see the riders lighting up with the comeback kid to give them some extra power. But it's Modi, Jeff, Louise, Daniel, Kayla, all here Daniel's trying to catch up to that lead group. When you do have a little bit of separation like you see there, it is very hard to make up that pace. On board here with Kayla in the front group, you can see her in the pack here, sitting in, making sure she doesn't drift to the front, maximizing the draft. That's what happens with these low skill events, where you are having quantum shift, where you phase through one another, you kind of float to the front of the pack, and you have to be modulating the power on your pedals so that you can maximize and use as little energy as possible. And then this race can feel like a nice warm up, except for that massive sprint at the end. Here we are on board with Nigel. He was out to play on Tuesday, back again today. He was in earlier playing on the keyboard in between some commitments. So it's good to see him in Zone T. And I think I saw Jeff in there as well. So we'll see what the team velocity brings. They were massive in the team test racing earlier this week, which was lots of fun to race. Here we are on board side by side with Modi and Frank. Modi on the left-hand side, Frank on the right-hand side, 0.8 kilometers to go. It'll be interesting to see how Modi plays this. He's been at the front of the race the whole time. Frank right on his heels here, maybe conserving 0.6 kilometers to go. They're going to come around the banner. They're going to have another lap left. Aaron back there, you can see him firing the power up, and then Modi launches it, 0.5 kilometers to go, up out of the saddle, 1,396 equalized pots. Frank answers. Luis is also there. Luis uses his power up. Frank is at the right on his heels. Modi and Frank nearly neck and neck. You can see them side by side on your screen. Who will it be when they come through the line? Modi on the front, then Frank. Kayla, it's going to be a photo finish here. Modi and Frank side by side. You can see Frank in the red. In Modi, Frank overtakes the front, and it is Frank. It does look like we're going to have to check that scoreboard, but that is always a photo finish here on it. It was Kayla, then Frank, and then Luis and Modi. So Modi being on the front most of the race. There's Kayla's celebration dance. We got to see. Yep, working it out there. Congratulations, Kayla. That's how you do it.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, that was nice. I saw Modi putting on the pressure right there, and he did go quite a bit early, so just try to catch up, but it was, thankfully, the next group was able to, stay up there with Modi, and was able to catch the draft and then push hard right at the last second just to get that lead in first place. So it worked out really good with the timing there.
Yeah, so I always wonder about that. You see, sometimes it pays to go early. Modi went early. He still managed fourth place. Frank got second, but you weren't able to use your comeback kid. You had to really rely on your legs to be able to make that up. And with 0.5, it doesn't seem like that's a long ways to go, but it was. I love your celebration, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, no, definitely. It was a little bit of ways to go there, just especially with the 0.5. It doesn't seem that long, but it is when you're doing a massive sprint. And so, yeah, I saw that, Luis, he was right in front of me, and I wasn't able to use the the comeback kid. So, just was able to not execute that, so just had to push hard with the legs.
So now usually you're working with Frank. Today you're working on a different team. I'm going to check in with Frank. You managed to be 1-2 in the leaderboard. I think you guys are used to being close together in the leaderboard. It's like you can't help yourselves. It's sort of like just, you're wearing the jersey. He's wearing the jersey, even when you're working with another team. Let's check in with Frank. Frank, you raced the earlier zone, and you had some sprint there. But Modi, 1396 equalized Watson. You were able to answer that. Well done.
Yeah, actually, I stopped before the finish line. I don't know why lately. I just missed the finish line on that one. So great job by Kayla to know where the finish line is. That's important. And a great point there. I'm stunned I got second. So I'm happy, really super happy with that. And we're 2.5 points behind Team High. And Jeff and Nigel are back there, 36. And so they're about 8 points back. So
So
this is going to be big.
yeah, no, there's some good team stuff happening. Luis and Modi, and good turnout by Cognition. Now, Frank, earlier you raced Roman Arena. You laid down the rubber. You set a blistering pace here. Uncrashable ability, 2 weightlifted, 2 path of least resistance. Are you going to play it a little bit different this time?
Well, this is Dirty Racing, so Glenn got the better of Timothy in the last race. So that's why we're as close as we are, and I think we can even do better. So just going to follow his lead.
Gotcha. Well, that's really good. What Frank is talking about is Dirty Racing. There are racers tonight. Congratulations on that second place finish. There are racers that are racing non-physically and racers that are racing physically. And we have announced a league that's going to be coming up where a Dirty Cup. It's not a league, it's the Dirty Cup. And that is going to be where one racer is physical and one racer is non-physical. So a few riders said, hey, let me experiment. We're in the run-up. This is about practice. Let's give it a try. One of those riders is Frank, working, as he said, with Glenn. But one of Luis's teammate, we checked in with Luis earlier, is Modi, who we haven't seen in the broadcast for a while. So I want to check in with Modi. Like, how are you feeling? It's so good to have you back in the broadcast. I've missed you.
Oh, I'm feeling great. It's good to be back for Zone T during the week race. Things have just been busy between kids being sick, family travel. You know, I was able to do K last weekend, but it's nice to be home here in T, and got a lot of Team Cognition riders out on course. And the Dirty Racing testing with the keyboard players is going to make things interesting because they're stronger than the bots and they're smarter than the bots. So a tactic like Frank tried earlier on with a solo time trial, you know, could work because this could be a 15, or this could be like a 10-minute race. But if the riders are cooperating with their Dirty keyboard riders, I don't think that's as likely to work. So this is great practice tactically for the Dirty tournament, but also just for team tactics in general. And it's great to have the keyboard racers here. It really shows how this can be fun physically and just from a gameplay perspective. I'm excited to see what happens, especially in this race.
Well, I'm excited too, and good luck to Team Cognition. We have Nigel also in the broadcast, Team Velocity, riding with Jeff, who's on keyboard, one of the Dirty racers. Nigel, just under a minute, quickly, do you and Jeff have it all figured out here? You have a tactic and a strategy. You don't have to share it. Just tell me you've got it figured out.
Yeah, save a bit of juice for the last race. You know, let these other guys kill themselves. And then we'll come back at the end and clean up.
I like it. Save a little juice because Summit Islands requires a lot of juice, as we know. Well, good luck. I'll be rooting for you guys, and you got some fierce competition out there. Good luck. Just under 20 seconds to go. This is the second race of a 4-race Omnium. You just saw the racers race the low skill event on a fantasy course. Now we're on a road themed track, and this one, the bikes are road bikes. They're not the futuristic racers, and here they are, 3, 2, 1, out of the gate. Off they go on board here with Luis here, up out of the saddle, laying down some power there, digging in, making sure he does not get dropped. Modi and Luis on the front here, getting themselves organized right out of the gate. Seem to be maybe taking a page out of the book of what they saw Velocity do in the team racing earlier, where you get a jump and you make other people respond here. I think we're going to see a lot of them trading off the front, trying to stay close in the draft. Aaron is trying to get up to those racers and see if he can close that down. But it does look like Frank is coming on the inside of the lane there. Now, again, this is the uncrashable ability is on here, so they're not too worried about overlapping wheels. So they are about maximizing draft here, side by side with Modi and Frank here. Modi and Luis at the front. Frank drops a power up. He's just 2 seconds back from Luis and Modi. He can see the racers. He can see the avatars up the way, and it's sort of like a target. You just see them, and you need to close that down. And with the help of the power up, he's going to be able to do it. And he's going to tuck into the draft and see if he can use those 2 riders for as long as he can. But he does need to be careful here. If someone does that look like Modi did maybe slow down a little bit? That's possible. You know, it didn't look like a strong check. It just looked like a little bit of a soft tap of the brakes there. But Frank had already moved to the side and was not victim to the pace setting or the brake check or the negative racing, whatever you want to call it. He was aware that was a situation that could happen and didn't stay in the draft too long. On board with Daniel, also the team cognition rider here, making his way, getting in a line. Now, I wish I had a camera. Like I do have a camera. I have all kinds of cameras in the game, but I mean, like, look at that peloton that they're doing, their team cognition. Can we get a helicopter view of that? I mean, man, that is beautiful. Daniel and Modi all working together. Frank there in the mix as well. There it is. They're really tightening up, and it's really fun to see. Thank you for that helicopter view. You can see the lane changing there. You can see the guys. They're trying to maximize the draft. They're trying to work together here to get as much efficiency as they can. And it does look like Modi coming around 900. A little bit of attack here by Modi. Frank answers also with 800 equalized watts, but Modi just launches up to 50, and then Frank stays right with him. Frank matches that beautifully. Oh, does have a little bump there, loses a little momentum, but Frank was at a higher speed. He answered that attack by Modi and Modi did not get away, but he's punching out the legs. This is a classic move where when you have 2 riders in the front pack, one of them attacks, makes the opposing teammate cover the gap. But Frank says, I've got more in my legs. I know how to use the power up. I'm just going to continue on because he knows that Modi is tired from that attack, and he's trying to just take a swing back saying, okay, you're going to attack. I've got more in my legs, and I've got these power ups, and I know how to use them. Frank getting 2 seconds on Modi, leaving Nigel and Modi and Timothy behind. So Modi drops his power up and says, okay, well, I guess I have to use it now. I don't want Frank to get too far up the road. Both Modi and Frank physically, you can see them riding there. Modi on the left-hand side, Frank on the right-hand side. Frank drops another one of his power-ups, just trying to open up that gap and wear down Modi. 3.7 kilometers to go on this race. You can see Nigel is just a couple seconds back from these 2 riders. Timothy on keyboard, a couple seconds back from that. But it does look like Timothy and Kayla have been able to keep it together. Here is on board with Nigel. Now, Nigel said his tour was his tactic was to to save something for the end. So he's kind of staying in that moderate pace. You can see the riders up ahead there. He's not turning himself inside out. He's not lighting it up right now. We know what he can do. And I say that, Nigel, because I do see you're doing 383 equalized watts. I do know you're at threshold, but I see that you're not turning on the fire to chase him down, trying to save something for the end there. Modi on the front, 459 equalized watts there. But here is just Nigel with the pack here, a couple Pink Panthers with Kayla, with Glenn, so with a couple keyboard riders. And now it's on board with Luis, who drops the combo power up of the wind the path of least resistance and weight lifted here out on course. So lots of it's interesting because this one has a couple extra power ups, and I say extra, it's not really extra, but sometimes you get like just 1 or 2. But this one was 2 weight lifted and 2 path of least resistance, and you did see Frank spending them up at the front here, and then some. people are answering. Some of the racers are answering here. On board with Kayla, you can see here she's trying to find that lane position, trying to get around Glenn there in the red, trying to make connection back with Timothy. Glenn trying to maybe disrupt that connection a little bit here. But Nigel, Luis, Daniel, and Jeff, looks like Daniel and Jeff are a little bit down the way using their power-ups. But Kayla is really trying to find the spot that she needs to be here. Glenn and Nigel side by side here. Nigel taking down the front here. This is his view here, holding the front lane. Nigel moves up and is sitting just a few seconds back from Frank. And Kayla and Timothy said, I'll take your wheel. But Glenn is coming around and Glenn adds a little bit of power here. And they're trying to take Glenn's wheel, saying, okay, Glenn is on keyboard. I believe Glenn is working with Frank, but Glenn is maybe doing some work on the back, maybe to hold back the chase pack. I think that might be sort of a tactic. If Frank's in the front and his Derny rider can't bridge the gap, why would he? He's got his racer up the front. He's going to be doing a little bit of cleanup work in the chase pack. So Nigel comes around and doesn't want to stick on him. But Kayla here in the back here uses her, or was that, Louise, maybe that was Timothy that used the power up or losing the connection. I think she's struggling maybe to hang on to Timothy's wheel. It does look like one of them used the power up. Here is Nigel using path of least resistance here. What path of least resistance does is it makes you, makes the rolling resistance less, so you're able to go a little bit faster on course and come up to speed. So it does give you the sensation, and it does increase your speed, but it's one you don't want to use in the corner. Take it from me. So Frank still on the front, Modi right behind him, and Nigel here in third on the chase. He can see those two up the road and being like, oh, they're just so close I could touch them, just 2 or 3 seconds away. They're trying, and then here they are side by side. Gonna check in here with our Mixer chat. Hey, Mixer, thanks for joining us. We are CVRcade Racing. This is the second race of a 4-race Omnium in Zone T. This is the 3rd hour of racing. Oh my gosh, Modi drops the power up, 656. Frank answers with 800 watts. They are absolutely drilling it here. Just taking a few punches with 0.8 kilometers to go here. This is going to be a tight finish, and it's going to come down to a sprint right now. Modi on the front, 0.7 kilometers here. We are looking in the chat, and then there's still time, Kayla Crucible says. And Sunshower gives us 100 sparks. Thank you, Sunshower. Let's see. Mr. Ontario, Daniel Crucible says, lots of cheering here. Timothy Tremont, I love Nigel. So go, Kayla. Lots of cheering in the crowd here. So 0.4 kilometers to go. The last turn on course. Modi slides out, opens the door for Frank. Does Frank take the wheel, or does he come around? Frank did use a lot of his power-ups to try to make that break. Modi up out of the saddle. He's going to dig his avatar. Frank adds a little dig here. 700, 800 equalized watts, both at 180, high 180s on their heart rate. Frank, 50 kph, Modi, 49. Can Modi hold off Frank to the line? 51, 52 is the speed. 1,000 equalized watts. Frank punches it up. Is it going to be enough? 1 or 2 pedal strokes was not enough. He ran out of road. Modi does take the win, and it does look like Nigel is going to come in third. But that was a sprint here. Nigel did take third, and then followed. Here we are, Timothy and Glenn and Kayla coming through, and then Luis here. If we look at the leaderboard, Modi is on top, Frank is in second, and Nigel in third. All physical riders. Modi has physical teammates in the race. Frank has a dirty rider that was riding back in the pack. Here's Team Cognition's Daniel, and then Nigel taking third. But here is the replay. It was Modi and Frank on the front here, trading punches. Here's Kayla working with her teammate in the Derny style racing, her teammate, a non-physical rider. And in the end, the last 400 meters, Frank comes up out of the saddle, looks like he's going to be able to add enough power to come around Modi, but Modi says, no, you aren't going to come around me. I am still getting some left in my legs here, and is able to hold off Frank. Didn't have a power up there to play, so both of them had exhausted their power ups, and it was just mano a mano on this one. There was no power ups to lend it advantage, and that was a race well fought. Modi, how are you feeling after that race? Did I talk enough to give you a chance to recover a bit?
that was great racing. Frank and I had a ad hoc alliance until we didn't, and we just did enough work between the two of us to keep Nigel at bay. You know, he got within about 3.5 seconds, and we both traded turns again until we knew he wasn't going to catch us, because we were also counting power-ups, and then it became sort of a positioning, and could I hold out with a little bit longer but lower sprint than Frank had today. Good racing. I'm really tired. I'm going to need my teammates on this course, but that was fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. Sci-Fi R-Loop was where you're headed next. This also is a course that is conducive to teamwork and cooperation. Have you raced this one before?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite courses that's been added in the last 2 months. Real sensation of speed, lots of straightaways, a couple turns that can catch you. Real interesting and judicious use of power-ups is required to sort of maximize them. And absolutely, we've got wind and we've got a lot of drafting. We're going to see some echelons. It's going to be a great race. Super technical, super cool looking here in outer space.
Well, good luck to you, Modi. We'll check in with Frank because, Frank, when Modi is saying you guys had sort of this alliance and you were holding Nigel at bay, I know that happens in racing. And one of the earlier zones, we thought that might have been happening with Quentin and Timothy, but there was some miscommunication between those former teammates where the cooperation really wasn't at play. But so how are you and Modi communicating? Like in a peloton outside, you look and you can talk, and were you guys in communication, or did just kind of your avatar way you were playing, you kind of knew what the other was doing?
We weren't in communication enough. I would have told, in the end I didn't, because the way he played it, but I would have given him the win. I just wanted to stay away. Actually, I wanted the whole of Team Cognition to stay away with me. But they wanted to block me, I guess, instead in that little group. And I would have been happy to give someone there the win and maybe come in second, and then have the buffer of the points for the journey race. So, you can't communicate all of that. So we did the best we could, and Modi used his tactical advantage because he knew Nigel coming back was more important to me than to him, and so I had to get on the front. So great job. But we could have played it a little better. Wink, wink, Team Cognition.
Well, thank you for that insight, Frank. Always appreciated here. This is the replay here. You can see Team Cognition here. Luis up out of the saddle at the beginning of that race. And then, as Frank was saying, he was finding himself in the peloton, trying to not get blocked. And they were jockeying for position here. You can see on the helicopter view here where was Modi going to get away? Was Team Cognition going to hold him back? But there were some massive attacks here on that little climb there with the power-ups. Kayla doing her Journey style racing with Timothy, who is on keyboard. Also fun to watch. We'll check in with her in a moment here. And then it came down to the finish after they had that sportsman-like agreement to try to hold off Nigel. It came down to a sprint, and it was Modi that was able to hold off Frank at the line. But we did have Nigel here finish third on that race and is sitting third on the leaderboard. Nigel, coming into the medium skill 2-time multiplier sci-fi, what are you thinking?
I just got off and pushed the bike down, so I don't.
Oh, okay. It sounds like he's in with his team. We'll clip his microphone. I don't want to hear your tactics for real. Does he come back? If you're ready, Nigel, under a minute to go. I just didn't want to reveal anything in the team car.
Yeah, no worries. We're just having a chit chat, filling in time. Got nothing better to do.
Sci-Fi R, are you ready for this loop? It is 8.8 kilometers, kind of a long one. 2-time multiplier, uncrashable is not an ability.
Yeah, this is a good course with a couple of tricky corners that you got to watch your speed. But 4 laps, this is one where the keyboard people should do pretty well.
All right. Well, you do have a keyboard racer in there. I hope that you're able to help each other out. Just over 10 seconds to go. I'll let you get back into it. Thanks. I'm sorry to keep you so close to the starting. It is hard for these racers. We appreciate them streaming in and shifting gears to talk to us in the stream. So if you are liking what you're seeing here on CVRcade World Cup, please follow us, like us, add in your comments for your favorite racers here. I do have some updated scores. So Glenn and Frank on the Derny, 131.5, Hive on the Derny, 120, and Velocity on the Derny, 103. I think Frank was actually adding up the points for me while he was talking to me while he was racing and figuring out what he was going to do. That man is a multitasker. He has it's like there's a symphony in his head of a million different things here. Thank you for those scores. It does look like Daniel here is on a mission here, up out of the saddle, front end of the race here with Timothy and Daniel, and Luis here. Kayla also up there, Frank up there. It doesn't really look like you, for a little bit further back, it does look like Jeff on the keyboard might be getting dropped here by a couple seconds here. And that is, we were talking about how the keyboard dynamic works when you're playing non-physically, that there's a limit to, the keyboard also gets fatigued. So in the system, that's just like a rider gets fatigued, they've programmed some fatigue into that. So the nuance of the keyboard is not, whoa, Modi, look at you. Boop, 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 boop. Wow, Razor's Edge combined with inertia. Wow, that was he came by like a bullet. We did see, I think at that same place in the earlier racing is where Tim did it. We saw Ben do it on that straightaway. There is wind on course, so using the combination of Razor Blade, which allows you to cut through that air more aerodynamically, and then get up to speed, and then fire up the inertia, which when you press the inertia, it locks you into the speed you were going when you pressed the super. So he slingshot off the front, but he only got about 3 seconds up there. So he's not going to get that back. That does, if you are counting cards, which we know all of these racers are, that's a fabulous move, but it didn't get him far, but it did make Timothy answer. But Timothy is on keyboard. And again, I don't know how the fatigue algorithm works. Timothy's been riding a lot on keyboard, so I'm sure Timothy knows. But Modi, Daniel, 2 team cognition riders on the front. Frank also there, just 1 second back there. He can see the riders there at the front. He doesn't have to really do anything. He's got Kayla, both of them in the red. Whoa, Kayla, that looked like a little bit of slippy-slidey, and Luis does take it down in the corner there, a little bit further back. But Kayla here in the red avatar, working with Timothy, trying to really figure out the dynamics of how it's going to work. So Timothy on the front, Kayla being pulled, but you do have these corners where you slide out, and uncrashable is not on as an ability. So it's one of those things, the congestion, you do have to get back in alignment. You do have to change your lane, get back in position to be able to maximize that draft here. You can see Daniel very focused here. He's got Frank in front of him. He's got his teammates, Modi, and he's got Nigel right behind him there, and Luis a couple seconds back. Jeff, the Derny rider there, is also a little bit, a couple seconds back there. My eyes, I'm going to put my glasses back on here. I think I'm losing a little bit of my focus. My eyes must be sleepy time eyes. But here we are on board Kayla, side by side with Frank. Kayla in the second position here, right up close, riding really well with the keyboard player. And then next to that is Frank riding really well with Glenn. So within the last 48 hours, I think it's 48 hours, there's been so many announcements recently, but the Derny Cup has been announced. The Derny Cup is an additional cup that will be running along the same time as the Team CVR World Cup. The Team CVR World Cup will be on Saturdays, and the Derny Cup will be on Thursdays. And what we're seeing is a couple racers said, wow, that's happening on February 13th. Hey, who wants to ride with me? Who wants to practice this style? Because this is something we've never experimented with. And so, Glenn, who's always in the chat and being part of the races and in the dialogue, a friend jumped in and said, okay, Frank, I'll team up with you. And Kayla and Timothy have been working together as the former Pink Panthers and now Team Hive. So this is what we're seeing at the front of the pack. Just a little bit further down, a couple seconds back is Nigel. He can see the racers up there. Nigel finds himself in front of his, let me see, nope, in front of Jeff. And again, I don't know if this is part of their tactics. If Jeff just doesn't have the keyboard, is just feeling more fatigued at the moment. But right now, Nigel, I'm trying to work on holding Nigel's wheel. So it may be just having trouble holding Nigel's wheel, even with a keyboard, because he's such a monster here. All right, checking in, back in with the chat, 5 kilometers to go on this Sci-Fi R loop. Again, there is wind out on course. There's 1 inertia as a power up, 2 Razor's Edge. And it says here, look at those Journey riders pulling for their teammates. Kayla is still smiling. Out Terra says, hashtag Team Kayla. I did see the scores here. I did read them off from the mod. Thank you very much. Timothy Tremont keeps us all up to date. Yep, I would have to watch the boxing match. Go Kayla, says Crucible. So thank you, Crucible, for being in the chat. Glassy Bubbles, I'm scrolling back up. Thanks for more sparks. It was great to have you in the earlier zones today. Really appreciate all the love that you're giving us here in CVRcade here. On board with Nigel. It does look like Glenn had a crash here. I'm looking on the right-hand side of the screen. One of the things I'm always watching is who's going down. There's a little yellow exclamation point that happens in the nearby riders list on the right-hand side of the screen. And so my eye, as soon as it sees that, whoever did that design of the UI of flashing that, it's just brilliant, because your eye automatically goes to it. Frank up out of the saddle here, 851 equalized watts. Kayla used her inertia and is going 53 kph, and Frank avoids the block by Timothy. That was a great move there. Timothy was sliding over. Frank had used his inertia, was up over 50 kph. I didn't see what number was the top number, but he answered Kayla's inertia. He also was up, I think, around 900 equalized watts to make sure that he came up to speed, and then used his inertia, did not let Kayla go away. He continues on. This is something that Frank has, given me insight before, and he would say, and when this happened, you need to keep going. And I'm like, easier said than done, but he's doing what he says he did. He does is he's continuing on. He added that power up, and he's got a few seconds on Kayla. Kayla wasn't able to get away. Frank again finds himself on the front with Kayla close at his heels. 188 on Frank's heart rate. Timothy is coming back to help, not coming back, but Timothy and Kayla are getting back in alignment here. Kayla's trying to get up to Timothy. Timothy doesn't want to slow down too much, because he is going to find his keyboard, the non-physical becoming fatigued. So he's just holding that power. He's getting points. So, in the Journey style racing, the rules haven't been released, but we did see on the CVRcade riders post that both the non-physical and physical riders will score points. So more to come on that. And I think that as they do a little bit of testing here, they'll figure out, how those points are tabulated, whether or not the physical rider needs to finish within a certain distance of the non-physical rider. And I'm just making stuff up about that, whether that's even going to be a thing. I just think about, what sort of gameplay we're going to see. But Timothy's on the front. Frank's in second place here, just 3 seconds back from Timothy. Frank is 186 on his heart rate. Kayla a little bit further back from that. If you look at the leaderboard from the individual standings, not the team standings. Ooh, Jeff coming around here. We've got Frank on top, Timothy in second, Modi in third, Kayla in fourth, Nigel fifth, Jeff sixth here. But side by side here again, you can see the matching jerseys on the stream here, but they are not racing together. Now, I asked Frank in the earlier racing, I said, how do you communicate, hey, let's work together in the peloton when you're not next to somebody. So it'll be interesting to see how if Frank will end up helping Kayla down the way. But Kayla's on the chase right now. Jeff has moved himself up within 6 seconds of Frank. Kayla a little bit behind Jeff, and then Glenn back down with Daniel and Nigel and Louise. So Cognition not racing the Derny style. So Team Cognition is using this race to race all of their physical riders. And here we're on board with Daniel. He does have Luis a little bit further back. Homer's also in this race, but it looks like they're a little bit spread out, Cognition here. It does look like I don't see Modi is further down. It looks like with the bot patrol. So it does look like Luis and Modi here. If those bots do not crash out, they didn't crash out on that corner. Sometimes they do. So they're not able to go steady because the bots will crash at certain points. You can only stay with them a certain amount of time here. But Daniel is repping hard here for Team Cognition. We saw Team Cognition out in force in zones K and L earlier today. We saw Allison Kubota. We saw Homer just crush it on Summit Island. Also, Allison crushing it on that. Sebastian crushing it on the racing. So it's been amazing to see. So thanks again for watching us. If you're on Mixer here, Out Terror again likes Team Kayla. I might have already read that one, but Kayla's leaning a little to the left now. She's starting to feel that fatigue there. 187 on her heart rate here. 0.9 kilometers to go on this Sci-Fi R loop. 2-time multiplier. You can see it's Frank, Timothy, Modi, 1, 2, 3 on the individual racers. And I know we'll get an update from the CVRcade mod when we are in between about how the Derny racers are go. Again, it's Timothy and Kayla, Glenn and Frank, Jeff and Nigel that have paired up with a physical and a non-physical rider, and then the Team Cognition racing as a physical team, and everybody, Homer, Modi, yeah. So that's how I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody here in the list here. So lots of people working out different things because the cups, the 2 cups that we know are coming out. 0.3 kilometers to go. We are on board here with Jeff. He can see a little bit further up the road. He wasn't able to close the gap entirely on Timothy, but he might be able to nip Glenn here at the line here. Will he be able to do it? Timothy's a little bit too far. Timothy, 0.1 kilometer to go. But Glenn and Jeff, 2 keyboard riders. It looks like Glenn has a little bit more left in the tank. 500 equalized watts for the keyboard rider, the non-physical rider here. It does look like Glenn is going to hold his position, and he didn't. Whoa, that was a good one. He didn't slide out. It was possible he could have slid out, and that would have meant less points for Frank. So Timothy and Glenn both scoring points for their reserve team. So we had all of the non-physical riders in the front there scoring for their Derny riders, and then we have the physical riders that are going to come through. Frank, first physical rider to come across the line. Super respectful. Daniel, the second physical rider, and Kayla, the third physical rider, followed by Luis, it looks like, and Homer. So that is how it's going to finish here on Sci-Fi Loop. But Frank is sitting on the top of the leaderboard, and we're still on board here with Luis. I did get a little stretched out. We'll ask what happened with Cognition. I know they were working on some team tactics. They did get separated. I'll have to ask what happened to them out on course here. The next event, the last one here, I think too, if I got separated and I found myself not with my team and the tactics didn't go I wanted, I would be maybe just racing, quote, racing this one a little bit easier and saving for Summit Island here. So that is how it goes. And this is the replay here. We did see Glenn take a little digger in the corner here. We did see, this was a great play, Kayla comes up to speed, but watch what happens with Frank. Frank almost gets blocked. He's coming around. He can see, he knows Kayla's up the road, and we must have cut away before he got about it, but it was amazing. Frank avoided the block by Timothy when he had inertia and came around and was able to overtake Kayla on that move. So Kayla tried something, Frank answered, and then at the end, it was Timothy who took it, with Glenn coming second, and then Jeff in third. So the three non-physical riders taking 1, 2, 3 spots for the Derny Racing. Well done. And then, of course, the physical riders came on through after that. We had Frank come across the line. We had Daniel, and we had Kayla, 1, 2, 3. So coming into Summit Island, Modi is in third place for Team Cognition. I'm kind of curious what happened, Modi, if you're available for an interview. Team Cognition got a little bit spread out there. Oh, looks like he's not there. We'll come back. Oh, here he is.
Yeah, I had a side pitch, and just couldn't keep up with the group at the front. So tried to recover and finish the race to get some points and see if I could get through the cramp before Summit Islands. So I still have a shot. My teammates did well. We're well positioned. And I'm feeling better than I was 4 minutes ago. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, great. I'm glad you recovered. I look forward to seeing what Team Cognition, your teammate Daniel, did finish second as a second
awesome.
physical rider. So he totally rocked it. Well done picking up some points for your team there. But let's check in with Frank, because I'm curious about if I called that right, with the inertia play. That was massive here. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you off guard. The inertia play, Kayla dropped the inertia. You came up to speed. You anticipated Timothy's block. Was that just sort of like you saw it coming, or you were ready for it? Because that was a really, really heads up play.
Well, we all know Timothy, so I think he'd probably go for the block. So I tried to give him the feint, and he bit, and I got around him.
Well, it was really nice to watch, and I think that like you really did shut it down on Kayla with your continuing. You dropped the Razor's Edge power up immediately after it expired. Was that your tactic?
Yeah, when you got him on the back foot, keep him on the back foot. So just all in there. Great job by Kayla and Daniel. I thought they were going to catch me at the end. I was fading. This is going to be brutal. So we're about 11.5 points up on Hive, a little bit more on Jeff and Nigel velocity, but I have a sense they're going for an all right here, and they might go from third to first. So I'm looking forward to racing.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Frank. Let's check in with Daniel, who did come in second as a physical rider representing Team Cognition. Daniel, nice racing. That was really fun to watch. Great effort on Sci-Fi R. What do you have left in the tank for this one?
Hopefully I have enough for about 7 kilometers and 3 giant climbs, but I'm not so sure. That last one took quite a bit out of me. I was just kind of trying to hang with the front group and see what I could do. I wasn't feeling so great the first race, so hopefully I still have enough energy to get through this one.
I feel like you do. I am rooting for you, Daniel. I saw you bring a lot in the last race, and you have one weight lifted, one wind at your back, and 3 lap Summit Island is tough no matter how you slice it. So just over a minute to go. I'll let you get back in with your team so you can talk through. We have Kayla just under a minute to go. I don't want to, I keep taking these racers right down to the line. These racers are streaming in. Their heart rates are up, and then I don't even give them a chance to recover. I'm like, 30 seconds, you're recovering. You can have a conversation with me. They're such good sports to do that. But this is Summit Island. This track was designed by Ben, one of the racers here. He did win the Omnium earlier, Zone L of Team Hive. It's recently been reskinned. It's quite beautiful. You're seeing some of the replays here. You were seeing some of the replays here, but Summit Island is a beautiful, of course, here you can see that he is warming. Luis is warming up. Nigel is warming up. And it's one of those races where you warm up and you get to the 12% climb at the end before the finish line. You're like, man, this is terrible. It's so hard. 5 seconds. These guys are going to go out of the gate. You can see Nigel spinning it up out of the gate. You saw, he said earlier in the broadcast when I interviewed him, he said, we're we're going to save it to the end. We're going to, let the points, we're going to let those points happen, and we're going to save it for the end. And it seems like he's living up to that. But Timothy right now, keyboard rider, on physical rider on the front here. Jeff also up there with him. Luis in third. Nigel there holding on to Luis's wheel. Both physical riders, both. It does look like Glenn did go down. But on keyboard, you don't have that same sensation. You have, when you're riding, you feel the change in your pedals. So you can actually, when you're affecting your speed on a bike, there's a couple things you can do. Yes, you can brake. Yes, you can pedal lighter, but you also can, like on these descents, you can just stop pedaling like you would do in coast. Now, whoa, Homer just kind of came out of nowhere. Boom. This is, whoa, Homer, hello, 700 equalized watts. He's like, hey guys, remember me? Oh no, and he takes it, he crashes. You can see on the right-hand side of your screen that he does there. He does crash it down. Oh, that's painful. That's all right, Homer. You still have more legs. I know you do, because this is only your third hour of racing, not your fourth hour of racing. But here we are on board with Team Cognition rider Daniel, who just finished second for the physical riders in the last race on Sci-Fi, a little bit further down on the leaderboard, but trying to grab some points for his team here. We do know that Team Cognition will be racing, as far as I know, in the team World Cup that's going to be happening on Saturdays in Zone K here. Luis on the front, physical rider, and we see Jeff and Nigel trying to get something together here, but it's Frank who is also here on side by side of Luis here in the pack here. And it's interesting because Frank finds himself with Homer and Kayla. Those are two great wheels to be on. Frank and Homer, Homer and Kayla are on different teams. They, every kind of person for themselves here coming up the climb, but Homer adds a little power. Frank does not want to lose contact with Homer, because if he gets a little bit of a gap and makes it to the top of the climb a few seconds ahead of Frank, then that gap is going to open up a little bit more. So the name of the game on Summit Island is to just not let those gaps form, because on the climb, as you're continuing to climb up and the other person is coming over the top, it opens up. It's just like an accordion. The gaps get larger here. On board with Modi. Team Cognition riding physically with his teammates Homer and Luis out here, and Daniel, Nigel here, who's in fourth, not wanting to lose sight of Timothy and Daniel up there. Right now, Nigel sees Modi. He's with Modi. He doesn't want those gaps to open up, and he did say early on, he didn't want to let. He was going to try to pick up some points. This is the highest multiplier of the night here. And as we move our ways through the Omnium, it is a low skill. We had a 2 low skill, we had a medium skill, and then and the points multipliers are not just about skill, they're also about difficulty. So this one has a higher degree of difficulty. 3-lap Summit Island is just brutal on the legs here. This is the climb here. This is the leaderboard. You see it dropping down in the middle of your screen. Timothy on top, Modi and Luis, but if they overtake each other, then Modi will be on top here. Big smile from Modi. He hasn't been in Zone T for a while. It's awfully good to have him back on the stream here. Modi has his racers. Now, the physical racers of Team Cognition have been out in force today. Luis, Homer, Modi, Daniel. Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are pretty happy to have those spots. Luis about 10 seconds up from Homer. Modi and Daniel are together, being able to work, but Timothy does come around trying to break up the Team Cognition party, saying, okay, you guys can't have all 4 spots. So Timothy's going to try to come up to the front and get some points for he and Kayla, who are riding in the Journey style here. Again, the Journey style is one racer that's non-physical and one racer that is physical. So the non-physical riders are using the left and right arrows on their keyboard. They're using the down down to break. They have the plus and the minus sign to add or take away power or watts. So, but again, they don't have the same sensation in their legs. So it's a little bit of different style. And I know a lot of these racers are trying to sort of figure out what it means to do a Derny race, what it feels like. We even had Sebastian on keyboard today, and he was saying like, "Oh, this would be really fun to do with my kids." And it's like, yes, that is exactly what I'm thinking. But here we go. Modi taking a little drink. Hopefully his cramp has resolved. Hey, Glassy Bubble, another 400 sparks. Thank you so much. Yes, I love Modi's pain face too. Homer the Beast. Earlier, Termont says, how did that road taste on Sci-Fi R Loop, Glenn? It's a little bit of fun talking there, trash talking earlier there on his crash. But if you're watching, please follow. We race every Tuesday, Saturday, Thursday, and Saturday, 3 times a day. And we have a lot of great racing in the CVRcade World Cup that's coming up, and now the Derny Cup. We did have a huge season with 25,000 prize purse awarded last season. So it's going to be so exciting to see these different styles of racings with the team racing and with the Derny style racing, and how that's going to be very exciting starting up in a couple of weeks. But right now it is the physical riders who have the upper hand. Luis is in the front. Homer is in second. Modi is in third for this race of the 4-race Omnium. Summit Islands, you're like, I know when I race Summit Islands, I'm like, oh, it's just 2.7 kilometers to go. It feels like it's just like, oh, it's just 2.7 kilometers to go. It's just, that's it. But you're on this like relentless climb, and you're chugging and you're slogging, and you're just completely, look at that. Oh, just trying to get up 12% grade right before the finish line. And it is brutal. It just goes and goes and goes. And I have to say, when this was reskinned, you kind of get used to the visuals flying by. Here are on board with Homer here. He sees his teammate. He is making connection with Louise. This is Modi here. You get in your head like, you're like, oh, there's the rock on the side. And, and this is where, I come over the little pylon, and then when it was reskinned, it actually raced for me a little bit differently, because I was like, oh, I didn't realize how steep it was here. Oh, Homer comes around Luis up there in the top there. But on board here with Nigel, who sees Timothy, doesn't want to lose contact with Timothy, sees if he can stay close as he can. Okay, and now a power up dropped by Modi, a weight lifted there, coming up over the top here, using that power up just to get that last little boost to try to stay away from Timothy. Doesn't want Timothy to sneak up on him. I think Modi really wants the 1, 2, 3. I don't think they care which 3. They're probably looking at the leaderboard saying, okay, well, if Homer finishes, he's going to take some points from Luis. If we can get like Homer, let Luis get ahead of Homer maybe, so that he can get some more points and maybe hop up on the pedestal and knock Frank off. But Frank is riding Derny style. So, even though we're not scoring them officially separately, this is the run-up racing. This is experiment. This is fun. But we could put Luis up higher on the leaderboard if Homer does not allow him to come by. Oh, Modi comes around his teammate there. You can see them in conversation, that they're talking, that they're having a conversation to each other. Sometimes I go to them and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to hear what they're saying, because I don't want to reveal their tactics on the broadcast. So always measuring that. I like to ask them after the fact. I like to ask them before, and then I like to see if they actually do what they say they were going to do, or if they did something completely unexpected here. But Modi on top here by coming around. He dropped that razor's edge and he came around, and he is now overtook Luis to get those points. So they did do some calculus there to say, okay, well, let's see if we can get make sure we secure that spot. We don't want Timothy to take any more points here. Homer, Modi, Luis, 1, 2, 3, Timothy a little bit further back, Nigel behind Timothy. So the physical riders are having the day here. That the fatigue does set into the keyboard riders. It really does here. Nigel here finishing 0.9 kilometers to go for the race. That's a helicopter view. Beautiful Summit Islands, the palm trees, the breeze. I know it's pretty balmy where Nigel is. We're in the middle of winter. He's in the middle of summer. He said it's so hot. Yes, I have a space heater that is like cranking on my legs. Let me just tell you, because my toes are frozen here in my very, very cool studio here. But side by side, Luis and Modi, 0.6 kilometers to go for these leaders. Homer's up the road in the front here by 5 seconds on his teammates. We've got, 186 on his heart rate. Homer is actually backing off a little bit here, saying, okay, I think, maybe he's not. Maybe he just had a little momentary lapse there. But Luis and Modi, Team Cognition, they're going to finish 1, 2, 3 on the day. I think that they got themselves organized. They're in communication. Luis drops that weight lifted power up and is going to try to make connection with Modi. 0.3 kilometers to go for Homer. He's going to beast it up the climb. We saw him do it earlier today. The man never stops, and he has his 2 racers behind him. And these 3 Team Cognition riders have said, we are taking Summit Island. We own Summit Island. Allison and Sebastian and Homer in the earlier Omniums have owned this Summit Island here. So this is really fun to see Team Cognition come out in force, come out and just beast it in this 4th race of the Omnium, which has the monster climb. And there's Homer crossing the line again. I imagine his hair blowing in the breeze, and the smile on his face as he comes across the line. And here is Modi digging in deep with what he has left after this brutal, hard Omnium. I know it's not fair. It's always one lap too many. Congratulations, Modi. 2nd place, perfect. Top of the night, 2nd in this race, but top for the night. And Luis there comes across the line as well. So, and then Nigel bringing it up here, digging. Well done. Awesome job there for the 4th place there on it. Did overtake Timothy. So he's feeling good about that. You saw him with his celebration, a slightly different celebration move. Sometimes we see him do this, and this was he was very psyched, I think, on that one, because he was able to overtake Timothy before the line. And here's Daniel, Team Cognition, coming up that last little bend, and you can't, that finish line can't come fast enough when you're sitting there on that steep of a climb. So nice win, Team Cognition, on that is what we're seeing in the chat here. Thank you if you're watching. Frank is going to come up for that last bit here, that climb that never ever ends. Here's on board with Kayla on the replay here, digging in, not the replay, sorry, Kayla, digging in here, just trying to get past this last. I was like, wait, what just happened? Is it it's not, I know, it never ends, Kayla, it never ends. I love the smile though. I know, I feel you, sister. It is the gearing that you need, and this is the replay. So we're on board here with Team Cognition, and Modi just drilling it up the hill with the weight lifted here. Feels pretty good about that. And then, of course, Nigel here, who has been saying how hot it is in New Zealand, in Summit Island. It's a tropical place here. And then the 2 Team Cognition riders side by side, Luis and Modi, back to racing here. I haven't seen them in Zone T for a while, so it's been really nice to see it. And then Homer, again, beasting on Summit Island, takes the win for Cognition on this course, but it's Modi who takes the day. And Homer also earlier today showed up into Zone L and also beasted on this course and beasted in the racing overall. So, and then here is the finish of Modi coming across the line. Smile, a grimace turns into a smile, and then he is a happy man to win the Omnium. Yes, he doesn't have his Cognition right on, but he was pointing to his Cognition, and Nigel in 4th place, super happy with that finish. So that is, man, that was great. Modi, congratulations.
Thank you. What a race. I'm excited for the scorers to give us the result for the people racing as journey teams. That course is a real tough course for people racing on keyboard, because you're limited with how much power you can draw. So you have like good steady power, but this course, because of physics, just like in real life, suits really hard over threshold, significantly over threshold, like 1.5 minute efforts. So the physical riders had the day, and as soon as I got a little bit ahead of Timothy on the keyboard, I knew that with my Cognition teammates we'd stay away, and Homer took the stage win, so that was great. He's really got this course dialed in. It was a lot of fun. It's amazing the different type of efforts required, between the previous races and this race. Each of these races in the Omnium are so different, and they suit different types of fitness. They suit different types of physical or non-physical riding. It's a great combination, and it really shows that it's worth hanging in there. Like, I thought I was done for on the Sci-Fi R course when I got the side stitch, but I finished the race with enough time to recover and get my heart rate down, and was able to put in those 3 sharp efforts, and we got a good result. So thanks to my teammates, and this was a lot of fun. Can't wait to hear the results of the Journey racers.
Well, congratulations, Modi. It is great to have you back in Zone T. I know definitely December, January is a busy time for life, but Team Cognition really showed up across all the zones today, and reminding everybody, I think, in CVRcade the dominance of your team. So welcome back. This is just getting me even more excited for the Team League, even more excited for the Dirty Racing. So thank you and congratulations. Let's check in with Frank. I'm not sure if he's available, maybe if he is, and we'll take a look at the if you're with me, Frank, you want to talk through some of these highlights with me?
4 points, me and Glenn. I thought Timothy had it. Yeah, so Glenn and Frank, the Journey team, we took high by 4 points, and Timothy had it, but Cognition did him in. We'll do an alternate version of the scoring as if though no other, if it was just the Journey players, and so maybe it'll change that way, but I can't do that one in my head. Interesting. We learned a lot. Me and Glenn crashed a lot, but we hung in there for the end, and that was fun. That hurt a lot.
It looked like a lot of fun. It was kind of nice to see that, to have the sort of the dual, the physical riders and then the Journey riders, rather than this having like random, non-physical riders in there. It was nice to see, sort of be able to call that differently and see the 2 different distinct racing. And then for you personally, your scoring put you in 3rd with the physical riders behind Timothy. So I know you're going to do a separate scoring, but great effort out there on course. Great physical pushing. I mean, my goodness. CVRcade, I'm looking into the chat right now. It says, okay, Frank, do the math. So Glenn says Crash City, so fun to watch. And Luis, yes, the new scenery does make the climbs 0.00001% more bearable. That is true. So this is the highlights we're watching here. Sci-Fi R, you're seeing Frank there on the screen. You're seeing Nigel here on the screen. That was where Glenn did take a little digger here. This was one of my favorite plays here, where Frank answered Kayla's inertia. He made sure Timothy did slide to the right. A missed block. Frank was able to bait him to the right and, fake right, go left, and get around Timothy. So Timothy was unsuccessful in blocking that, but he did end up, Timothy and Glenn, the non-physical riders did take Sci-Fi R along with Jeff, who was on keyboard. So it was interesting. Sci-Fi R, the top 3 were the non-physical, but on Summit Islands, the top 3 were the physical here. And the first physical rider on Sci-Fi R was Frank, but he was racing with Glenn, who was also there up at the front of the race in 2nd. And then we moved on to Summit Island. A couple crashes there early, but it was Nigel who said, okay, we're going to bring a little bit more. Homer goes down, and despite Homer going down, he ended up taking the stage win on that race here. We did see a lot on Summit Island where people were not letting racers were not letting the racers in front of them get too far away because they didn't want those gaps to get up. And as I said, any lap on any race on Summit Island is always one lap too long. Particularly, it seems like we get these races at the Summit Island race is always the last race of an Omnium. It's never the first race. It's always the last, and it's just sort of just like nasty to make it up that 11% climb, but it is so much fun. And as you heard from Modi, he said that the dynamics of this race is that it's harder for the non-physical riders because of the physics to be able to put enough power for those high efforts that are required here. But you can see Homer, this is the replay. He drops that power up, he takes it to the top, takes it to the line, and does take the stage win. Glenn is saying in the race here in the chat, I need to get some more hours in. We all do, but you did great, Glenn. Really awesome. Thanks for the sparks there, Glenn. Super happy that you were in the racing in the chat. And able to play. Nigel, congratulations to you as well. That was a great overtaking on the line there. Felt pretty good, 4th place there. So there, as Frank said, we'll see the scores for this sort of experimental journey. We had 3 teams in the journey racing. We had then we had Team Cognition, who was out in full force throughout the day. They were riding as a team physically, but this has been a lot of fun. I hope you've had a lot of fun. Please follow us and check out CVRcade Riders for all of the action. This has been CVRcade World Cup Racing Zone T. We will see you again on Saturday. Thanks for watching.
But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.